Folks, I hope you're having a happy Thanksgiving. I don't mean to ruin it, but mark this day when you go vote in November, because elections have consequences. And I'm not sure how much more the American people can take. Global business analyst Hillary Fordwich. Now, Hillary, I don't know how they can spend these numbers. People get the receipt when they buy their groceries.
You're absolutely right, Carl. And one of the things you just mentioned in there, you said many great things. Just so our audience really hears this loud and clear, you mentioned that strategic petroleum reserve is down. Actually, it's the lowest it's been since the 1980s. And so everybody's crystal clear. The reason it's called the strategic petroleum reserve is because it's strategic to protect our nation. We have the fewest amount of days that this nation can be protected in terms of oil being released from that reserve, as I mentioned, since the 1980s. Yeah. The Biden administration has sold off 40%. Why? Not for strategic reasons, not to protect our nations, but just for purely political reasons. And that's what we should be really afraid about. And I don't mean to dampen anybody's Thanksgiving like you don't either, but that's the situation.
But it always sounds better in a British accent, Hillary. Hillary, look, when inflation goes up, Biden was like, president doesn't control inflation. When it goes down 16 cents, are like, hey, look at what the great White House has done for you peons down there. My problem here is that all the government has to do is less. If they get the heck out of the way, if they stop over-regulating, and if they stop caring more about the sage grouse than they do about pumping oil out of the ground, this will all get fixed naturally.
Actually, you're totally right there. You mentioned the word regulations. Regulations are really a tax on business. I run a business. I consult to businesses, and businesses have to deal with 683 more regulations than when Biden entered office. What does that mean? Whenever you have a regulation, you have to have somebody administer it. You have to have somebody oversee it. There are teams that have to be hired for this. In other words, it impedes businesses, let alone construction, let alone everything, obviously, in the farming industry and obviously in the oil and gas industry. So regulations are a tax on small businesses, medium businesses, and large-sized businesses because of the people and the regulations they have to observe.
Hillary, for the first time in more than 3 decades, Republicans finally lead Democrats in the economy, according to voters. So, every poll says they trust Republicans much more to run the economy than Democrats, because Democrats have basically thrown a lawn dart into the dirt. How do Republicans not understand that you cannot continue to print money like they did with this continuing resolution and make their voter base happy and fix the economy?
Well, you can't. You actually can't do both. But I will say one thing, just in terms of going back to that poll that you just mentioned. That poll, very importantly, was an ABC poll. So this wasn't a Republican-led poll. So that means we really can, if you're looking at the economic side of this, you really can put some sort of validity into this in terms of what Americans believe in terms of their hearts. Also, Republicans are more enthusiastic about going back to the polls. Why? Yep. Republicans are more enthusiastic because, of course, they're seeing what's happening with the economy. They're seeing Biden inflation or Bidenomics at work. That's the reason I believe that Republicans are more enthusiastic. And yes, nobody in Congress, not even any Republican, should be adding more to the pressure to the American public because they don't need it at this time.
Totally agree. Hillary Fordwich, appreciate you being here.